Hello and welcome to Ask Amanda Now. I am your host, Amanda Farmer, and we are here for our Friday short session today. Ask Amanda Now is a short segment, about 10 or maybe 15 minutes, where I can answer one strata question for you, a little bit different to our longer Friday lives that we have on some Fridays. I am back in my country home, done a bit of travel this week. I've been in Sydney for most of the week, and I'm back now here in my home studio. I'm not at my desk, I'm kicking back on the lounge here, taking a relaxing Friday afternoon, as I hope you might be too. If you're joining me live today, please feel free to pop a hello there in the comments. Let me know that you're here. I can see some of you already tuning on in live. How has your week in Strata been? And if you are catching the replay, then drop me a hello as well. Now, I have said that Ask Amanda Now is a short segment. I put the call out either the day before, the day of, sometimes a bit earlier in the week, depending on how organized I am, put the call out for a strata question. And always, so many of you send through your excellent questions. We don't have time for all of them, but today I am actually going to answer two questions in our session today. We have had two very excellent questions. One is a quick one that I will get to after our first, so I thought I'd throw that one in for you. Bonus. Let's call it a bonus answer, bonus strata answer for you today. I have chosen our first question, which is our longer question, the question that needs a little bit more unpacking perhaps and discussion. I've chosen this question because it really is part of a broader discussion about dysfunctional communities or communities that may not quite be operating as effectively as we would like. So it's a good question in that context. And it's also a question about living in smaller communities. 2-lot schemes, strata schemes, 3 lots, 4 lots. And if you are on our email list, you would have received my email this afternoon where I have said that the smallest communities often have the biggest problems. And those of you who are strata managers or who have been working in strata for some time, living in strata for some time, may be able to agree with that. Our first question today comes from Shauna. Now, Shauna's question is, and I have summarized this from Shauna's longer post further down on our page. Feel free to go and check out the longer post. In a 2-lot scheme where my neighbour won't agree to appoint a strata manager, is the only option to approach the tribunal for a compulsory appointment order. So great question, as I've said, on 2 bases. Number one, we're talking about dysfunctional communities, and I'll tell you why I'm using that term. And we're also talking about small communities. So some of you may be able to relate on either one of those points. Our small communities are especially vulnerable to conflict. It can depend, especially in a 2-lot scheme, what the unit entitlement of each lot is. If you're not sure what unit entitlement is, feel free to post a comment here and I'll come back around and give you some guidance on what unit entitlement is. But where there is equal unit entitlement, we do need both owners in a 2-lot scheme to be in favour of any proposal. We need everybody, both bodies, on board to be able to make decisions in 2-lot schemes and to move forward with what is in the best interests of the community. So that's why we often see deadlocks, we see blocks to positive action, and we see conflict in 2-lot schemes. Emiliana is here saying hello and saying thank you so much for answering 2 questions. My pleasure, Emiliana. Thank you for joining us. And Henry, I don't know if you're a marketer, but you beat me to it every time. You've always got the quip. Hi, Amanda, thanks for the Black Friday bonus. Of course it's a Black Friday bonus. 2 questions I'm answering today on Ask Amanda Now. Let's call it a Black Friday bonus. I think I'm so exhausted from all the Black Friday bonus text messages I have received today. Does anybody else feel like that? The text messages from the product companies trying to sell me clothes and shoes and handbags and TVs and all of these things that I don't quite need right now, and the emails. It's all a bit much today, Black Friday. But yes, 2 answers to 2 very good Strata questions is not too much for Black Friday. That's what we're doing here on Ask Amanda Now. This is Shauna's question. It is about a 2-lot scheme. Shauna did post a more detailed question further down the page that you can check out. But in essence, she is trying to convince her neighbour that the community would really benefit from having professional strata management. Things aren't getting done. She finds that her neighbour is non-responsive on issues where she needs input, and having a professional strata manager involved is really going to assist with that. In New South Wales, we must appoint a strata manager by resolution at a general meeting. It is an ordinary resolution, so we need more than half to be voting in favour of the appointment. In a 2-lot scheme where everyone has equal unit entitlements, that means that both owners need to vote in favour of an appointment. So Shauna, if your neighbour won't agree to appoint a strata manager, then you're right, you can't appoint a strata manager by motion at a meeting. I often call that a voluntary appointment. You are voluntarily saying, hey, we'd like a strata manager and we're going to appoint them at our general meeting. And yes, your only option then, if you want a strata manager appointed, is to seek an order of the tribunal for what we call a compulsory appointment. Now, it's really important to understand that a voluntary appointment is very different to a compulsory appointment. A strata manager who has been appointed by the tribunal will have very broad, very wide-ranging powers to make decisions for the community, and it is a solution that should be carefully considered before it is applied for. But there isn't otherwise a way to have a strata manager appointed where you can't get that motion across the line at a general meeting. So you will need to head off to the tribunal if you want a strata manager appointed. But simply going to the tribunal and saying, hey, tribunal, my neighbour won't agree to appoint a strata manager in a meeting, so I want you to appoint one, is not going to be good enough. You actually need to display to the tribunal, prove to the tribunal that your community is dysfunctional. There's that word, dysfunctional, not functioning satisfactorily, is the words used in the legislation, and seek the appointment of a compulsory manager to cure that dysfunction. And the fact that you don't have a manager is usually not sufficient to prove dysfunction. There needs to be something else happening or not happening in the community to make you dysfunctional. The place where you can go to find out more about how compulsory appointments work, how you get one, what you might need to prove in order to get one, why you might want to think twice about having a compulsory appointment, is my podcast episode. I do have a podcast episode dedicated to this topic. It is, I believe, podcast episode 222, if I remember correctly. Christina will post a link here in the comments for us. Your guide to compulsory appointments. Yeah, podcast episode number 222. If you are thinking about whether the appointment of a strata manager by the tribunal, what we call in New South Wales a compulsory appointment, is something that your community might need, might benefit from, Shauna, if this is the avenue that you are thinking about going down, please do go over and have a listen to that podcast episode. I recorded that episode after I had successfully represented lot owners in a, wait for it, 3-lot scheme that was dysfunctional. It was not functioning satisfactorily for a number of different reasons. And a compulsory manager needed to come in and essentially act as an administrator to make decisions in place of the owners, because the owners couldn't agree on what was best for the community. So the involvement of professional management often does assist a community that is struggling to recognize, to comply with its legal obligations, to do what it needs to do to ensure everybody is living peacefully and in harmony. If you can't, as a community, agree on who should be the manager or that there should be a manager, yes, the only way to force that appointment is through the tribunal. Shauna, in her earlier, more detailed post, mentioned mediation. Do I need to go to mediation first before I go to the tribunal? And interestingly, mediation is not a prerequisite before you apply to the tribunal for a compulsory appointment. It is one of those few areas of dispute that is exempt from mediation. And that kind of makes sense, because if your community is not functioning satisfactorily, then a mediation is probably not going to be the best place to get your problems solved. So I think the tribunal or our legislature recognizes that we should be able to proceed immediately off to the tribunal to be able to solve these difficult problems. A few more of you have come on in to say hello. Cheryl is here saying hello. Good to see you, Cheryl. And also Kelly is here. Hi, Kelly. Thank you for joining us. Sean is better late than never. He's here saying hi. Hi, Sean. How are you? Now, this is an Ask Amanda Now session. Generally, look, I'm relaxed. I'm sitting on the lounge here. I made it home on time. I got my hair done today when I was in Sydney. Went to my Sydney hairdresser. So I'm all neat and tidy here. Usually we run for about 10 minutes on Ask Amanda Now. I think we're already past that. And I've got another question. Black Friday bonus. Thank you, Henry. Our Black Friday bonus on Ask Amanda Now is that I'm answering two Strata questions. So that is Shauna's question answered about appointing a Strata manager to her two-lot scheme where her neighbour won't agree. One thing that I haven't mentioned, which you'll hear mentioned in the podcast episode, Shauna, and we'll put a link here for everyone as well, is that the relevant part of our New South Wales legislation is section 237 of our Strata Schemes Management Act. That is the section under which you would make your application if you are heading off to the tribunal seeking a compulsory management appointment. So that is the answer to our first question. Shauna, if you head around, you are here. I've just seen your comment. Welcome. Hey, Shauna, and thank you for the thank you. Not a problem at all. Thank you for asking a good question that I'm sure the answer to which is going to help many others in a similar situation. All righty, the other person today who asked a very good question that I thought I could whiz past and give you a quick answer to is Henry. Henry's question coming up on our screen now is this: can you have committee meetings without the Strata manager present? And are the decisions made binding? Great question, Henry, especially because I am often talking about encouraging, recommending our committees to have their Strata managers at their meetings. I find that it's something that really helps my committee. I'm the secretary on my own Strata committee, helps my committee keep on track with what we need to do, make sure we've got a professional there that we can ask questions of on the spot if we need to. And there is somebody who is able to immediately take action on what we've decided to do in the meeting. There is someone who can take accurate minutes, produce those minutes, get them out to owners, and then start taking action on what we've decided. So I am often on the podcast here on live recommending that our communities have their Strata managers present at their committee meetings, even if it is an extra expense. I think it's well worth it. But this question about having committee meetings without the Strata manager, and are our decisions still binding if we're having committee meetings without the Strata manager? Henry, I know that you're in Victoria. I'm going to answer this from my perspective as a New South Wales Strata lawyer. As far as I'm aware, there's nothing in the Victorian legislation that would change this, but definitely do check this out with your own Strata manager, with if it is a point of contention, perhaps get some legal advice there specific to Victoria. But certainly in New South Wales, our committees can have meetings without their strata manager present if that's what they want to do. And indeed, their decisions that are made in that committee meeting are still binding. They are still valid legal decisions. The strata manager doesn't have to be present to add some level of authority or legal validity to our committee decision making. What makes a valid decision is that the meeting is properly convened. If there is a notice period that needs to be adhered to, in New South Wales, it is 3 days. 3 days notice of a committee meeting needs to be given. We need to have a quorum at our committee meetings. So we need to have at least half of our committee members present at the meeting and eligible to vote. That means that they need to be financial if they are owners. If the committee members are not owners, then the owner who nominated them needs to be financial. Those are legal requirements. Those are the kinds of things that make committee meetings and committee decisions made in meeting legally valid. It's not about whether the strata manager is there or not. So good question. I'm interested in why you may have asked this question, and you don't have to answer that here publicly in the comments if you like. If you wanted to throw that into our Q&A forum in our members community to put some flesh on that one for me. I know you are quite an experienced strata dweller, let's say, and I'm wondering if there might be some confusion in your community at the moment that's prompted you to ask that question, but it's a good one, and I'm sure there are others out there who may have that question, a similar question also about having their strata manager present or not present at their committee meetings. So thank you, Henry, for asking that question, and thank you for your suggestion that this second answer on what is only ever a one answer show is we should term that our Black Friday bonus for today. I have enjoyed that. Now, a few more comments coming on through. Cheryl saying, have a great weekend. You must be heading off. Thank you, Cheryl. Wendy saying, our manager would require payment to attend here in Victoria. Minutes are taken and distributed promptly through the manager. Perfect. Love that. That's absolutely the way that it happens in my community as well, Wendy, and in other well-functioning communities that we see here in New South Wales. Julie's asking, what makes a committee meeting formal? Very good question, Julie. Well, I would say a committee meeting is not a committee meeting unless it is actually convened in accordance with the legislation. So I'm not sure where you are, Julie, but in New South Wales, we have legal rules. This is set out in Schedule 2 of our Strata Schemes Management Act about how to convene a committee meeting. And I know, as it sounds like you might as well, and others tuning in might know, that our committee members are often making decisions outside of a committee meeting. So they're not issuing an agenda, they're not giving proper notice of that meeting, they're not actually sitting down, whether it's by Zoom or in person, and giving owners the opportunity to attend that meeting. And in New South Wales, owners do have the opportunity to attend committee meetings. None of that's happening. They're just making what we might call informal decisions over email, or having a chat in the car park, or seeing each other in the lift and saying, yeah, that sounds like a good idea. I don't call that a committee meeting. I full stop, not a committee meeting at all, unless it complies with the requirements of the legislation. So good question there, Julie. Thank you for that follow-up. Henry is saying, thank you for the answer. I'm just about to move into a new strata community. Thought there was some background there, Henry. And I want to have a meeting before the strata manager comes along to discuss the inaugural budget and fees. Yeah, excellent. So you can definitely do that, Henry, without the strata manager being present. And as long as your meeting is properly convened in accordance with the legislative requirements wherever you are, then indeed, and the decisions made will be legal, valid, binding decisions. Okay. And Wendy, who I believe you're also in Victoria, Wendy, is helping out Julie there, saying there's a formal agenda. The formal agenda, yeah, that is definitely part of what makes a committee meeting formal, legal, and decisions valid. Alrighty, so there's our 10-minute Ask Amanda Now, which has become a 20-minute Black Friday special Ask Amanda Now. 2 questions for the price of 1 today. Thank you very much for joining me on your Friday afternoon. I'm going to head out. I haven't been home with my family for most of this week, so I'm about to head out. And I think that the invitation that I got from my 10-year-old son was, Mum, can you come and jump on the trampoline with me? Heck yeah, that is what I'm doing. Sounds like a wild Friday for me. I hope you two will enjoy your Friday evening and your weekends, and I'll see you all here round about this time, maybe a bit earlier, next Friday for another live chat. Enjoy your weekends in Strata. Catch you next time. Bye.